Thank you, then, Chair. Starting with item 1, apologies. I have received apologies from Gregory Lawrence, Philip Woodhouse, who is observing online, and Adam Hogg. I've not received any other apologies. If I may, because I know there's a number of handouts, would it be helpful to run through what members should have in front of them, just in case? I hope you all have the right things in front of you. There was a public and confidential pack, the confidential pack featuring the confidential minutes and item 9, which was sent by email last week and should be with you in your hands now. There is an insert for item 9, which I think I've tucked into all of the hard copies in the room because it was quite small on the original printout. So it's nothing new, it's just bigger. So apologies about that. We have a report that's been tabled in the room for item 8, and there's a request that copies of this be returned at the end, and they've been named, so I will know. Thank you, members. Then at item 8, there was also a further confidential addendum on a slightly different shade of blue, depending on whether you can see it, which I've also handed out. If anyone feels like they're missing anything, please shout. Otherwise, Chair, sorry, I'll hand over to you on declarations. I haven't had any on this.
No, I've not received any.
Thank you, Chair. And then we have item 3, the public minutes of your meeting held on the 17th of July for decision on page 5 of the white public pack.
Agreed.
Thank you. Any questions on matters relating to the work of the subcommittee? I was given any advance notice, Chair. I can see Philip Woodhouse says there's no sound.
It's right, Polly, it's come back.
Thank you, Mr. Woodhouse.
Sorry, I said it before, I think before you started. Apologies for not being that.
Yes, so I have one a question here. We did discuss this at call over, but I just think I wanted to discuss it with when members are present. So this came up at our PNR away day around our succession planning for our SMG in critical roles. So just wanted to understand from your perspective, Cliff, if this is something that we will begin for our senior leaders, and because I understand previously there was a feeling from, at that time, as Emma Moore, who was our chief operating officer, that succession planning, because it wouldn't be fair recruitment, that's why we didn't do it. But we just really wanted to ask, because the senior members are asking that question.
Excellent, thank you, Chair. Yes, so succession planning and talent management are built into success factors as part of the SAP rollout. So we have the functionality to be able to do it. We also have some high-level templates which we can use for the senior roles, and I think we start with the senior roles initially. There is a conversation to be had around open and fair versus succession planning with our union colleagues, just to ensure they're comfortable with the approach for the rest of the organisation. And we are already looking to pilot it at a high level within the people function and finance. We've got agreement to start looking at how we're going to undertake it. Critical for me, of course, is one thing to do talent management, it's one thing to do succession planning, but we need actually initiatives in to support those people that end up on those plans. So we're focusing a lot of activity on making sure we've got support mechanisms in place as well as the process. But yeah, there's a bigger conversation to be had with the union colleagues.
Thank you. And do you have an indicative timeline as to when you believe this will start, maybe next year, or do you have any thoughts?
So the functionality within the system will come through in December as part of the SAP rollout at that point in time. So early in the new year, we should be able to start it, particularly the pilots we can start looking at now. I think there is a criticality, particularly with some of the changes across the chief officer level, including my role, over the last 6 months or so, that we look at the C-suite initially, and we can do that fairly quickly with the town clerk and others.
Thank you.
I have a separate question, but it's a sort of aligned a bit. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon.
As I said to you previously, Chair, I think it's a gap that you've identified, and we should be working harder on succession planning. It's important to note that it doesn't mean we dispense with competition, but it means that we have people ready to take up roles, and we are developing those career pathways. So it's absolutely the right thing to do. So my advice would be that we progress this as soon as we possibly can, given what Cliff has said. But just to reiterate, senior roles will still go to the market for competition.
Thank you. Deputy Chair.
Thank you very much. My point is a separate point, but I did raise it at call over, and nobody seemed to understand what I was talking about. But I think Anthony might understand what I'm talking about, being a professional. You understood, I think, as well, Chair. Key man insurance. An expression people didn't seem to have heard. But, you know, in most big corporates, your chief executive, there would be a key man insurance policy around. Basically, if he or she goes under a bus, you have the provision through the key man insurance to deal with it. We don't have such a thing here in the corporation. I think we should examine whether we should. We should investigate it, the pros and the cons. I don't pretend to be any expert on it, but it does seem to me we are vulnerable if our head of paid service was suddenly not there.
Thank you. And so, yeah, that will be an action maybe for the next senior round. We can come back and look at that.
Can I just come in on that? I mean, I get what you're saying. I mean, key man insurance is insuring, but the key man insurance is we don't necessarily have to insure. What we need to do is what would happen, what's in place, who are the people who are going to. So if Ian, something happened, who's going to step up as the interim or whatever? So that's where that's what you're referring to, rather than actually taking out insurance.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, we do have the deputy chief executive who would step up.
Yes,
in the event of
right.
the chief executive no longer being there. We also have a deputy town clerk who would step up and cover those areas, I suppose. Well, perhaps Anthony could just tell us what the insurance element means. What does that provide over and above what you're saying?
A whole lot of money to go and find somebody, I suspect. But anyway, Anthony can tell you.
Is it?
An insurance man too.
Sorry, Henry, you're an insurance man. In fact, you're top insurance.
There's nothing odd about it. It's a glorified life cover, basically, and you can take out whatever figure you want. You wouldn't necessarily cover the whole figure of a salary, but because actually, if somebody has an accident, unexpectedly, you may have some immediate costs, you may, etc., etc. So you can, to some extent, choose the figure, the amount of indemnity you want. I think it's tax deductible, but there's nothing unusual about it. Probably for about 8 or 9 offices, it probably might be a sensible thing to do, just so we've covered some cost, if nothing else, some cost gaps, because we're going to have some short-term costs which we hadn't budgeted for. Therefore, the cover will pick it up if they have an awful accident or get killed.
Thank you. James.
Thank you. I think if we went down that route, it would be just worth understanding sort of what others do, because actually, it is, the product is available out there, but actually it's not necessarily that common for some businesses to take it up, and it is quite, having been through a process, it is quite an expensive form of cover as well. So thank you.
Ed Lord, and then Anthony.
I'm sort of, in my experience, key man insurance primarily is in SMEs where you have someone who is pretty irreplaceable. With the greatest respect to our wonderful town clerk, he is actually totally replaceable. There are plenty of people who could do his job pretty quickly, whereas in sort of significant SMEs where you have someone who's been running the business for decades and they have all the knowledge in their head, that's where your key man insurance actually becomes really important, rather than in a corporate environment like this one.
Thank you, Henry, and then Anthony.
Chairman, as with so many things here, you just have to refer this to the finest ward of the city, which is Lime Street. We have a representative from I think the world's largest insurance broker and the country's largest life insurer. I think we have an answer for you potentially on a plate, but if in doubt, ask Lime Street to help. Thank you.
Anthony, over to you.
I apologise, because it does sound, Chair, as I was flying a kite and maybe it's just been shot down, and that's fine. That's fine.
No, all I was going to say, Chair, is that I think, following on from what the town clerk said and Sir William, I think, in terms of if we can get that right, getting people to see that there is that career trajectory, even to that level, it is really, really important, actually. And because actually then the ripple effect throughout the organisation really does that. And I think to give the message that we're building, retaining talent capability to strengthen our organisation from within, who doesn't like that? And I think, but picking up on the policy chairman's point, I think that's certainly something to look at. But I really like the idea of that internal progression. Very good.
Thank you. And Philip, you've got your hand up. Philip?
I'm not sure if I'm allowed. I'm not sure if I'm actually allowed to speak, but I was going to say that all major companies, FTSE companies, have key man insurance. It's not just small companies. I mean, this is an absolutely vital part. I mean, Man, for example,
we had a significant number of our main board and regional boards all covered by key man insurance. And we do have I believe the Chairman of Finance can put us right, we have a captive insurance company within the corporation, and perhaps we can explore it within that. But I certainly would look to getting some quotes on this.
Okay.
And it obviously defrays a disaster.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. So I think that we can take that as an action. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Town clerk.
Thank you, Jen, just for the benefit of Mr. Woodhouse online, because it was an information item that's permissible at the chair's discretion to be brought in. It is a local authority meeting, so there is limited participation online for decision items. Then any other business, I think we've covered everything from call over, Chair. So we move to item 6, which is the exclusion of the public. Does it have the support of members in the room? Thank you. Bear with me whilst I stop the recording. 1 second.